Hello, I'm EVM, welcome back to the channel and to the Genesis GV70. It's the big brother of the GV60 that we tested last year and liked so much, I very nearly bought one. So this should be that, but better, but bigger, but more. I mean, you can see, it's a pretty big car. I'll be honest, because it's freezing out here, I want to spend as little amount of time outside as possible. Let's have a look outside though first, the front. This is the Genesis family look. You've got the split level headlights, this kind of crest grille, which is obviously fake, that's the actual grille. And I must admit, it took me a while to figure out where the charge port was last night when I tried to plug this in. It's here, which it does feel nice and solid. It's a nice arm action going on there. CCS, we'll give you all the charging specs later on. Genesis is a premium brand. They are to Hyundai, however you pronounce it these days, what Lexus was to, or is to Toyota. So this is the premium version of some very, very good cars. This, however, does have one disadvantage over the GV60 I mentioned earlier. It's available in petrol diesel versions as well, which means this is a compromise chassis. It's not a ground up EV, and you can kind of tell from the size of the bonnet it's about that much wider than a Tesla Model Y, which isn't exactly a narrow car. So on these British roads, especially the ones in North Yorkshire that we're on now, it's just a bit big. As you can see from the fact that I'm getting knackered walking around this thing, it's very long as well. So yes, it's a big car. There's a lot of big cars driving around the UK, maybe too big. So clearly this will appeal to some people. You've got quite nice crease going all along the car and dipping back here. Bit of a bulge, because this is a very, very quick car. We'll give you the specs when we get inside. But ultimately, these doors, big and chunky, nice bit of weight to them, they feel premium. Some people may struggle, they are quite heavy. And the rear, quite large, easy to get into, so no rear entry problems in this car. I'm not very tall, granted. It does look taller on camera than it does in reality. I mean, don't get me wrong, it's a tall car, but it does kind of have more of a shooting brake configuration. At the back anyway. The front, very SUV, the back, a little bit cooler. Very much Genesis, split level taillights as before. You've got the Genesis logo there, and it does suffer, as you can see from one day of driving, how dirty it is, from this camera problem, which they all have. I mean, I'm always doing this. Why can't they just take the dog penis approach where it disappears when it's not in use? Then you wouldn't have this problem. It is a little bit nondescript, I guess. It's the sort of car that you see driving in the background of films where they're not allowed to show you the logo. But I don't actually mind it too much. It's in SUV world, it's not too bad. It's got a little bit of premium going on. And if you press this button here, it opens the boot for you, of course, which is big. I just expected a little bit more. If we just take this down, it's not very tall. I think that's the problem. And even when you lift this up, not a huge amount of space underneath. And when you put the seats down, you've got a lot of space. So I guess it is a good load lugger, but given the size of this thing, it should be. Just here, as a lot of the Hyundai, Genesis, Kia group have, vehicle to load. Right, let's start with the steering wheel, which as you can see, puts itself into position when you get in the car. It feels nice and soft, but sturdy. We've got some nice buttons, good button action going on here, and nothing black gloss. And right here, you've got the boost button, which we'll come back to later. The door card is really nice. I like the stitching, I like the feel of the materials. This door handle's okay. Speakers, buttons for your memory seats, and all these, again, I felt a little bit better. It's not fully high-end like high-end Mercedes, but it just does feel like I'm in something just a little bit more special. And this here, you can't quite tell on camera. At night, it lights up. It's almost like a picture frame. It's really, really good. You can change the colours, and it just feels like you've got into something that has cost you a bit of money, because this isn't a cheap car. And it carries on all along the cabin. You've got a heads-up display there. All along here, it carries on with the kind of leather approach all along the dashboard and some nice build quality. And you can see the massive screen, which if I turn the car on here, You got screens there, you got screens there, you got screens everywhere, but they actually work very well. This has got a bit of a 3D effect, which you can't really see until you're driving, but it is easy to read, and if you change the drive modes, you get different colours and all the usual things that you would get. Down here we have the climate control buttons, so a little bit of heated seat please, and heated steering wheel, nice and easy to use, although a little fiddly when you're driving and you're taking your eyes off the road, but you do have lots of buttons here, which are kind of plastic metal effect, and they can just about get away with it, but it's nice having those buttons because it's okay having a touch screen, which does work very well, but you can just think, oh, I'll go to nav by pressing that button there, I go to radio by pressing that button there. The touchscreen element of the screen does work quite well. If you click on home, for example, it's very fast in its response, and when you go to stuff, it's a decent system. And you've also got the option of this here, which is like the iDrive controller. You got the volume controls and drive modes that I showed you earlier, the various other buttons that act in terms of getting you into drive and reverse, park, and auto hold. Although I'm not sure what we've got a blanking button there for. That's a bit strange on a premium car that's fully loaded. Here we have a hidden sort of compartment for your phone to charge, and some charging sockets as well, USB. The only trouble I've found over the last week of driving this is that I always leave my phone in there until I get in the house and remember I've forgotten it. One slight issue here, it's a nice armrest, it feels good, but it just doesn't feel like it, well, you don't want to stay. Yeah, that's the only flimsy. Yeah, it's a little flimsy, but it's not too bad. And you've got lots and lots of space in there as well, I guess, and cup holders, of course. Here's the Harry's time to shine, the glove box. Oh, wow, look, what is that? That's quite a chunky instruction manual. If you press these buttons here, you get an opening sunroof, and it can close the cabin so it's nice and confined, I guess, you know, it keeps it warm in winter. But I prefer that, and it does make the cabin much lighter. Area. Yeah, much airier. Now the seats, I can adjust for some reason your seat from the side here, so that means your kids can have some real good fun with the passengers when they're driving around. Comfortable?
Very. Yeah, really very nice.
Yeah, I would agree. And if you press that button down there... Oh, are you going for some pelvic
stretching?
Lumbar stretching.
Lumbar stretching, that sounds nice.
It's doing my right butt cheek now.
That's me.
Oh. Right, now there is one thing I think that's probably worth mentioning. This is very wide, isn't it? I mean, there's a lot of centre console here.
There is.
Which kind of suggests this used to be, or is also,
transmission
a petrol
tunnel.
Car. Yeah, the transmission tunnel with no transmission in it. You don't lose anything at the back. That is flat, pretty much at least. But this takes up a fair bit of space. It's fine because it's a wide car, but I forget the feeling that if this was a ground PV like the GV60, you'd have more interior space.
Yeah, there might have been something under here.
Yeah. Is this a three-seater in the rear for adults?
I would say so, yeah. I think you get 3 adults. The middle bit might be a little bit of a squeeze because there's not much room for your feet. You're going to have to...
you have all these controls for the rear.
Yeah, you're going to have to man spread there.
But ultimately, family of 5 get in this car?
Oh, yeah, easily, yeah.
Right, so it's a family car, definitely. Yeah. Decent boot, but not massive, but enough.
It's first class.
That's how it should be, isn't it?
That's how it should be.
Yeah. It is easy to find a nice, comfortable position when you've got electric adjustable everything. So
it's just comfy anyway.
It is comfy. The only thing I would say is that I feel like I'm in a big car. I mean, it is, but that bonnet's massive.
From here, it feels like a really big car.
It is a wide car, and that is what I've noticed when driving it.
Yeah.
Parking, get away. It just gets in my garage, just.
Well, driving up over the tops here, it was a bit like, I hope nothing's coming the other way.
It's like a van.
It is a van.
And not to drive, but in terms of the size of it. You just have to kind of pull over every single time. I'm going to have to turn this off, it's too distracting. Well put together, which is part of the current South Korean crop, isn't it? Yeah. You just don't have a bad Hyundai, Kia, Genesis now car.
Well, I think the thing is, if you took the badge off and put a Mercedes badge on there, a BMW badge, you know, most people wouldn't blink. A lot of people go, oh, it hasn't got the free air vents.
Yeah, it hasn't got the traditional stuff. But like you say, if you just put someone in,
the fit and finish.
The fit and yeah, definitely. The £115,000 BMW iX, was it M50 or something?
Yeah.
Down here,
plastic,
the non-touch points were quite cheap, whereas these, even the non-touch points,
it's like that gel feel.
I mean, it's like Alcantara.
That's beautiful, is that?
Oh, look, I kept on rubbing the car. For me, the main ones: BMW iX3,
which we've driven
in electric form, of course, and Jaguar I-Pace, because this starts at 65 grandish.
Yep.
Although everything's optional. Yeah, it'd be a top end Mach-E. I mean, there's not even a...
They're not even
I won't even
no.
answer that question. So this is a 73 grand car that we're in today, and it's lots of options.
Which
Weirdly,
I think
though,
you'd probably want to take.
you would, because it doesn't come with heated seats.
It's standard.
No. I mean, that is a 64-5 grand car, but in reality it's
Who's
70.
they got from BMW working there?
Because there's one battery version.
Yeah.
77 kilowatt hour. There's one motor configuration. They all get four-wheel drive, ludicrous speed sort of stuff. We'll come back to in a minute. So there's just one car with options.
Yeah.
Just before we get onto performance, let's mention the GV60, which again, I almost bought. I just couldn't afford it.
Overshadows this car a little bit.
It does, because it is smaller,
Yeah.
but the interior space, with maybe the exception of the rear
It's
end,
kind of similar.
it's about the same. I feel like, I mean, that's an Ioniq 5 / EV6. It's not a small car.
Anyway,
So for me, that's a ground up EV. This is a compromise. This is almost too big for the UK. That's about as big as I'd be comfortable with. You can get the same drivetrain in terms of speed and battery size in both cars.
And that's got drift mode.
So I'm thinking, what is this for? Well, is it just because they do a bigger version anyway across the world and we're getting it as well?
I think so.
You get the full 800 volt charging,
Yeah.
so like, up to 300 kilowatt sort of stuff. So it's got all the good things from the Korean brands in terms of EV-ness, because they're the best EV manufacturers right now, I would say, overall.
Yeah.
Tesla aside, in terms of the technology you get, it just seems to work. I've never seen another Genesis GV70. It's just come out, granted.
Yeah.
I've seen one GV60. No one's going to own these because of that low numbers. It's a new brand.
Yeah.
And therefore, if you want a bit of premium exclusivity, this is it. And there's a lot of X3s. There's a lot of Audi SUVs that are just carbon copies of the same shape. I just feel like I look at an Audi, which are fantastic cars, but it's boring. I'm bored.
They're almost like, though, it's like I think sometimes they've given up a little bit, like that BMW. You know, the guys who've done this have gone, no, we're going to make all of it nice, soft touch.
Yeah, nice touch, yeah.
You know, the BMW have just gone, that'll be all right, nobody will notice that.
Would you go for the I-Pace or this? Because the I-Pace drives nicer.
I go for this.
I would probably, actually.
It's a very nice place to sit.
It is.
But do you know what? I go for the GV60.
Well, that's it, yeah. Shall we mention the ride? Because it's a very comfortable car. I think that's very quiet.
It's at odds itself, isn't it, the ride? It is very quiet.
And jiggly.
It's jiggly, yeah. You very much...
I mean, let me put my foot down a little bit on these twisty-ish roads. And I know it's not designed for this, but when you have a car that can do 0 to 60 in 4.2 seconds,
you expect it,
which is supercar level almost, you're all right. It's almost too quick because you're just up to speed immediately. But then when you start going around a corner, and if there's any undulations,
it's like you can almost hear it, can't you, in the background when you're going over the bumps?
Bit of bounce going on, and that's even in. I mean, sport mode, comfort mode, it doesn't really
do
help
much, does it?
No, this bit here.
What I would like is a button where you can just soften everything completely up.
I don't want a hot hatch in this car, but I want like pure comfort.
Yeah.
And it just doesn't. Even in comfort mode, we're doing 36 miles per hour. The roads aren't the best, but the Volvo would be gliding along. Yeah, the water's bouncing.
The water's bouncing all over. I think that initial damping just wants to be a little bit softer.
There's something that needs to be
tweaked. What do we know about damping?
It's something that every automotive influencer, journalist always says, but ultimately, you can just make it up.
Yeah.
Check this out. I can make myself sound like I know what I'm on about. Are you ready?
We do all the time.
The driving dynamics aren't quite what I'd like. If you push it, it does upset it a little bit.
Yeah.
Now, what I've said is true, but it's
absolute
meaningless.
Bullshit.
Now, this weirdly placed boost button on the bottom of the steering wheel.
Yep.
But we'll come back to that. If I press that, it gives me 10 seconds of boost. You know, because the turbos are kicking.
But can you press boost again straight afterwards?
You can, yes.
So it's not limited to how much boost
No, you can keep on hammering it.
So why isn't boost just always on?
Boost ready.
Go. Jesus Christ.
30, 40, 60.
Wow.
4.2 seconds in a car of this size is absurd.
That spun a tyre.
Yeah. 4 tyres.
Yeah.
Spun. And
they're 265s.
265 tyres. The chassis isn't set up for it.
I think it'd be nice if it had a little bit less but bled it in. Jesus Christ.
Do you know what we're missing though?
What's that?
If I press this button here, would you like some enhanced sounds?
What?
Fake engine noise or fake electric motor noise? Or futuristic?
I like
It's like someone doing that on
it's like
them
sci-fi, isn't it? Yeah.
Oh.
It feels a little bit like somebody's remapped their car and not changed anything else.
Or from our Max Power era, where someone would get a standard Vauxhall Corsa and put a red top in it.
Yeah.
But don't change the suspension.
On the brakes.
On the brakes. You get 5-year guarantee on it, warranty.
On the customer,
That look after
customer
it.
experience.
The customer experience of Genesis is definitely, I mean, you're paying for it, but you definitely feel like you're getting that concierge level.
Yeah.
That's what kind of appealed to me about the previous Genesis as well, that I felt like I was being looked after. 77 kilowatt hour battery.
Yep.
So it's the same as the Hyundais and all the others we've mentioned. But the weight and the size of this does show. Over the last 120 miles, we were averaging 2.5 miles per kilowatt hour. It has been kind of minus 1 to 3 degrees.
It's been cold, hasn't it?
So if we said 70 kilowatt hour, because again, you're not going to get it to empty, times 2.5 would be 175 to 210.
I would say.
So winter to summer.
We got in today with 50% on, and it said we had 98 miles. So as a car dealer's here, should we take it in and see how much it's worth on the Part X? A what? A Genesis? I never heard of them, mate.
We go through glasses guide like that, going, huh? This spec'd up 75 6 grand car, or a complete entry level with no options Taycan.
Oh.
Different cars, SUV, not SUV, and that would be entry level. You know what Porsche are like? They don't give you anything.
Yeah. You have to buy your seats, aren't you? I'd probably go.
But it's a Taycan, isn't it?
I'd probably go for the Taycan, just.
2-wheel drive Taycan, not the quick one.
I think that's going to be.
It's still going to be a Porsche though, isn't it?
Yeah.
I like the brand more than this particular car.
Yeah.
But I would still go for the GV70 60 that we've mentioned many times before. Just because I feel like I'm getting the proper value ground up experience, the better efficiency, the same-ish interior space, the same sort of interior quality, the same drivetrain, same battery. So what is this for?
Somebody wants one a little bit bigger. I think that must be, isn't it?
Give me the bigger one.
Yeah.
Well, the smaller one's a bit better, sir. Just give me the bigger one.
Yeah.
Because less people own it, and I want to be a bit more exclusive.
I think people just like big cars, though. It's a bit of a statement.
And I think, given the other options in this price bracket, I would probably, at the very least, drive one.
Yeah.
And then I think most people would be swayed, won't they? At the
yeah,
moment,
definitely.
you'd be going, Genesis, just a posh
I don't
Hyundai.
know. Yeah.
Oh, I think I'd rather go for the BMW
I would say,
iX3.
yeah, definitely sit in one.
Yeah.
Try and drive one.
Okay, we are done. Do you know what else is also premium?
Is it the your subscription?
It is, yeah. 99p. Right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
I'm just going to enjoy this
Massage.
butt massage right now.
You don't want to get out, do you? After
No.
It's like...